All right, starting over can be funny.
And this morning, CBS 2's Vince Gerasole and Mobile 2 are talking to a comedian who got people laughing in the second half of life. Let's toss it out to Vince now. Good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Roseanne, in our passenger seat this morning. Mel Novit, thanks for joining us this morning.
You're welcome. Good morning, Vince. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing fine because I'm at that age where, sometimes you think, what if I did something else in life? And you've done something else more than once, right? You've worked as an educator, and now you're a comedian.
How about that, Vince?
Well, I would be frightened to start something new. So where do you find the humor in starting something new?
I've been a playful guy all my life, and there was no way I could just retire. Mm-hmm. I've been a writer all of my life, and I needed an outlet for that writing.
Had you ever done something like stand-up, though, before, where you stood up in front of a crowd, told jokes, and maybe they might fall flat, and you still had to go on and try to win the crowd over the second time and the third time?
I did some motivational speaking, and there was no real challenge to that for me. Mm-hmm. I used to do something called the 10 Commandments of Aging Positively. Mm-hmm. And then when I got too old to do that, I decided to go into stand-up comedy.
Is there like a particular genre of comedy that came to you naturally?
I'm described as an edgy comic, and
you seem very soft-rounded here in the car, but you're edgy, huh?
I'm very edgy. One shade away from being mildly, and not really dirty, but edgy.
Because this is a family hour program we have here right now.
Absolutely.
But it really does take a certain amount of courage to start something anew. You've worked as an educator, you worked as a journalist, and now you're working as a comedian. What do you think we should look for, tap into ourselves, if we're trying to start something over again?
I think you got to think back to the time when you were a kid and what gave you the most pleasure in life.
And then go with that. We're going to be talking with Mel all morning long, and he's going to try to motivate us, I guess, to sort of find our funny bone and have the courage to start something new. So stick around, and we'll be talking to you some more.
All right. Just keep in mind, it's a family-friendly program, right? Thank you for that, Vince.
Mel Novit is my guest today in the passenger seat. You've worked as
an educator, as a journalist, as a motivational speaker. I worked in prisons. I did it all.
And now he's a comedian, and he's teaching us how to have courage if we start over again and how to keep people laughing. So stick around, and we've got more for you coming up.
Hello,
We're
Vince.
here laughing about what men don't know about their wives. There's some stuff you shouldn't know, and one of them's on the list, but I just don't want to go there. All right, Mel Novit's here with us, and we're talking about changing gears at different points in our lives. And so you decided late in life to be a stand-up comedian. What was it like when you had to be in your first room and try to tell your first joke?
It was like an accident of chance. I wanted to do it just for fun one night, go down to an open mic at the Chicago Center for Performing Arts. There was a comedy group called Edge Comedy. Mm-hmm. So I prepared my 3 minutes about my wife was going through the change. I said she was changing into a werewolf. And I had about 2 or 3 minutes on that gig, and I decided to muster the courage to get up and tell a few jokes. And when it was all over, the owner, Dave Odd, said to me, he says, you're the funniest old man I ever saw.
Well, but that sounds like a compliment, sort of.
Yeah, well, sort of. I either wanted to punch him or pursue comedy. And when he told me that, I kind of got bitten by the comedy bug.
And you had to keep going, and you had the courage to keep on going. Mel's going to share with us a little bit more about what it's like to, go with your gut, make a change if it's time to make a change. A lot of baby boomers making a change. We're going to pull over and have some breakfast, too. And I don't know, I should find something funny in what we order. Okay.
All right.
We're talking with Mel Novit this morning, who, after a career in education and as a journalist, you went into stand-up comedy.
How about that?
Well, what the heck possessed you in the first place?
I've always liked trying new things. When I was in my 50s, I took up weightlifting. And when I was in my 60s, I learned to play the piano. I actually did it. I can play 100 different songs now as a dream.
And I find it hard to believe you're in your 70s, but now that you're in your 70s, you're doing stand-up.
I decided at the age of 70 that I needed something new, so I decided to do stand-up comedy. And I've never believed in putting an age limit on anything that people do. Mm-hmm. And particularly as a creative person, I was a a journalist. I wrote plays, and I needed an outlet for that energy.
But some people, as they get older, they're frightened sometimes to try new things. You know, sometimes they say, you know, maybe right now isn't the best time for me to try something brand new. That's for younger folks. What would you say to them?
I would say, if let's say you suddenly woke up one morning and had no idea of how old you are, what age would you be? If you didn't put that restriction on yourself with a particular number, and you just kind of look back to your youth and the things that gave you pleasure, what was it that you always wanted to do? In my case, like with the piano, I'd be playing piano in different places, and people say, gee, I always wanted to take up piano. You know, but
that's what made you start that way. I mean, that's good advice to keep in mind this morning. We're going to talk a little bit more with Mel as the morning progresses, and I don't know, maybe have some steak and eggs or bagel or something. Sounds pretty good.
Sounds good.
How about you guys? What do you want to order?
Yeah, I'll take one of everything. You know, from comedian Mel Novit.
Hey, we're doing our best to have a healthy breakfast, too, with a good fruit plate this morning.
Absolutely.
That's the best way to start the day. All right, so you said one time you were working with a person who owned a comedy club, and he said you were doing great, but he wanted you to dress the part of an older comedian.
Yeah, I was working at a club downtown where they attract all the 20 and 30-year-olds, and he said, you know, when you get up there on the stage, he said, you're dressed like us, you look like us. Of course, the room was very dark. He said, and you're telling jokes about being older, about being an old person. He says, maybe you ought to try, like, dressing like an old person. I said, who, like, you know, Dennis Weaver or the guy with the big stomach? I said, I don't do that.
Well, you could wear like I do, my pants up to here.
Yeah, so. That doesn't work for me. No, I work too hard at it.
Mel, it's just been a pleasure spending the morning with you and really getting advice on how to have the courage to try something new. You've done it a couple times as you've switched careers, and now you're making people laugh as a comedian. It must be satisfying.
So. It's very satisfying. It's the nicest thing you can do for people today, especially in times of bad economy and world problems, to know that you can go up in front of a group of people, make them feel better, make them laugh.
And you made us laugh. You're going to be at Comedy in Oswego on December 7th. Mel Novit, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Hope you brought a smile to your face too, guys.
Yeah, thank you for that, Vince.